Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to sort of introduce our guest speaker, who will be presenting first this afternoon, and then the panel afterwards. This it's a really important event, regardless of anything else. But there's a lot going on right now in Sacramento, in the surrounding community, and at this university's campus community as well. And so, you know, we also really appreciate your attendance coming to this event to celebrate community with us. And so, first of all, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that we are on indigenous land and thank the original keepers of the land for its use. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge the family, friends, and community of Stephon Clark that's hurting right now. As we come together to heal and continue to work towards justice, events such as the one we are at only highlight the importance of community and family here on this campus, something that the Center for Race, Ethnicity, and Social Justice is designed to foster. I therefore thank you all again for your continued participation and support in these center's events as it pushes the larger institution to recognize and ultimately support the spaces that we need and the work that we do as a community, both in times of need that are obvious, such as now, and also as an institutional norm. And so thank you so much for coming. Before I introduce our speaker, I'd also like to make you all aware of two events that are taking place related to everything that's going on tomorrow, starting with a student walkout that is scheduled to take place at 11 a.m. tomorrow in support of Stephon Clark and in resistance to the DA's decision not to press charges. And so if you are a student or you know students that would like to participate, please pass this information on. Students will be walking out at 11 a.m. and gathering together to march downtown to the Capitol building and possibly the DA's office. Also at 10:30 a.m., the Poor People's Campaign is organizing a march to the Capitol from 13th and Ann in Sacramento in support of Assembly Bill 932, the bill working to change, 392, Assembly Bill 392, working to change the legal language around police action, encouraging and hopefully forcing police to use all preventable measures before lethal force. And so if you are able to, please do participate or pass the word on those two events. All right, I now with great pleasure have the opportunity to introduce our keynote speaker for the afternoon, Dr. Luther Castillo-Harry. Dr. Harry joins us to discuss his work in the health and medical field in the country of Honduras. Working at the margins of society with some of the most vulnerable populations, Dr. Harry's work is consistently breaking new ground, such as the establishment of the first Garifuna hospital, serving communities which previously have had no healthcare facilities at all. Furthermore, Dr. Harry's work shines a light on Afro-Latino populations across the world that often get lost in our discussions of an American society organized around strict black, white, and brown borders. And so therefore, without further ado, it is with honor and great pleasure that I turn the floor over to Dr. Luther Castillo-Harry. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I want to thank Sac State University for this wonderful invitation, and Professor Stan and Professor Manuel, who contacted me to Honduras, and I was thinking how to arrive to Sacramento during this exciting time, and a lot of things are happening back home. Then we had to find some space to come here and share with wonderful people like you, wonderful students. It's a great honor for me to be here. Then you're gonna be doing some exercise, good exercise with your mind to understand my English. Then my mother language is Garifuna. Garifuna is an indigenous and African mix is a mix from red Caribs from the Caribbean and the Arawaks who came and moved from the river of Orinoco, from Guyana and Venezuela. From that mixture between the Arawak Indian and the red Caribs become a new people called Amerindian people. And then the Amerindian mixed with African Maroons who came to the island of St. Vincent, not for tourism. They was brought in those big ship of slavery. But there was something interesting in that process of the history. I love history. I'm a medical doctor. But, you know, I born in Honduras in a small village called San Pedro de Tocamacho. It's a small village without electricity, without running water. And there is no electricity, then your big screen of TV is your grandpa telling you history every night, talking to you about what happened to his grandparents. And that's the way how we keep the history, you know. And then for us it's very important to know our history. Then we can move forward with the knowledge of the history, and that history cannot be repeated. Then I would love to share you the origin of Garifuna people. It's my origin. Then I born in this little community. Then, but talking before about these mixtures of Amerindian with African descent, then my grandfather used to tell me that there were 6 big boats in front of the island of St. Vincent. There was those big boats, it was for British and French who were bringing slaves from Africa. And those 6 big boats was attacked by the Red Caribs. The Red Caribs attacked the boats, took the food, and liberated some of the black people in the boat to help them download the food from the boat. And those brothers liberate the other 6 boats. And all those African people who were coming in the boat, they run away to the mountain in the island of St. Vincent and built there a community of free Africans who mix with the Amerindian, and from that mixer become the Garifuna people. That's why my ancestors were warriors, and they believed deeply in freedom. Because we were brought from Africa to be a slave, we never become slave. We fight for freedom and establish the first community in the island of St. Vincent, mixed with Amerindian people. But years after, the British were thinking that we don't need to go to Africa to capture more slaves because there are newborn black people here in St. Vincent. Then our leader, Joseph Satuye, started a movement to fight against that idea, against that action that British was taking to recapture the newborn of Garifuna people in St. Vincent. Then we had a war with the British for 15 years. In 1795, after 15 years of the war, the British called the Chief Joseph Satuye, who was leading the war against the British, to sign the agreement of peace. But we cannot forget that the leader Joseph Satuye was pushed by his wife, Barauda, to start the war against the British. We cannot forget that the woman was the one day that my grandma used to tell me that one day when Grandma Barauda arrived to the field, she was looking for cassava, and all the field was destroyed by the cow of the British. And she returned back home very angry and told Satuye, the British are destroying our farm, and you don't have the courage to fight against them. I don't know if that was the right word that she said, but Satuye was very angry after Mama Barada told him, the British are destroying our farm and you don't have the courage to fight against them. Then give me your pants. Then I will go and fight them. Then that was the day that Satuye called all the men in St. Vincent and started a war for 15 years against the British. Then Barauda, who was our blessed woman, who got that vision that we can liberate from that chain of the British, has a highly big significance in our society. That's why Garifuna society is a matrifocal and matriarchal society. Even though our brothers say that the man has the last word, and the last word is just my love. Then the Garifuna society is a matrifocal society, a matrilineal society. And we are very proud to be led by women in our movement. Then we are blessed to have the African blood and to have the Indian blood. It's a very interesting process, living in a society like us, to have this blood, like in a country like Honduras. Then, after 15 years of war, in 1797, March 15 of 1797, the British invited Joseph Satuye to sign the agreement of peace. In the same night when he was signing the agreement for peace, he was assassinated by the British. He got murdered by the British. And the British start to capture more than 5,000 Garifuna who was in resistance in fighting. Then they captured 4,800. And they ship it to a small desert island, the island of Baliso, is in the north of St. Vincent. And in that desert island of Baliso, they killed 2,400 of my ancestors. And the remnant of other 2,400, they was settled, they put them in 3 ships and exiled them to the island of Honduras, 1797. They did that journey. Almost 400 of them died in the journey in the sea. They stopped in Jamaica 10 of March, 1797, and arrived to Honduras Wednesday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 12th of April, 1797. We always remember the date. We always remember the journey. Because if you forget your history, then time can repeat it. Then Grandma and Grandpa used to talk to me about our history, how we came from Africa to St. Vincent, how we mixed with the Amerindian Red Caribs and the Arawaks, how we were exiled to Honduras, how we arrived to Honduras. Then to be able to understand deeply that we didn't arrive for tourism to Roatan. We arrived fighting for life. And since that time, we're still fighting for life. We're still fighting for survival. Then if we see, and there's great history of Garifuna people, then the Garifuna are a diasporic identity group, mixture with blacks and Indian, but their black ancestors, the Maroons, suffered the first displacement from the African motherland. The first displacement. But in 1797, we suffered the second displacement from St. Vincent to Honduras. Today, it's an honor for me to be here, being the voice of the voiceless, the voice of my people, sharing with you our struggle sharing with the students, with people like you, people who think that we can have a better world. That's why I stand in solidarity with some of your students who were in their peaceful manifestation. And we think that when we see those actions, we believe that we can change the world. We still have hope that we can move forward, that we still have hope that anywhere we are, we can feel the pain of others. Who is the best way to show that you're still a human being? You can still feel the pain of others. But today, in my country, it's difficult to understand why a medical doctor is talking about those topics of human rights, of neocolonialism, because the traditional way from the Western concept, I got to be in a hospital taking care of some patients. But my patients are not living in a hospital, they live in, because I believe deeply in the biopsychosocial way to do medicine. I believe in that patient who arrived to the clinic for a headache has a psychosocial history. Then I believe deeply that this patient who arrived to the hospital for a treatment, he's living in an environment. He has a social environment. He's living in a social environment. Then how we as a professional can impact this social environment to be able to change the determinant of health who are affecting the patient who arrived to the clinic. Then we don't believe in a number, a patient who arrived, we believe in a people. Then I believe deeply in this way to do medicine. That's why today I did my effort to come here and share with you what we are doing in Honduras. Then we arrived to Honduras 1797. Then we create around all these costs, almost 47 communities. But if you look at the location, all those 47 communities are located next to the sea. Then when we arrived in those years in a country with very deep exclusion and racism, they would say that we smell like a fish because we live next to the sea. Then we were located in the sea. They used to joke in all the newspaper and the television because we were waiting for Christopher Columbus to take us back to the island of St. Vincent. Our ancestor has this great, brilliant mind to locate all those communities next to the sea because they can have access to the land, produce their own food, they can have access to the sea, get their fish for transportation, medicine, and different other uses that they give for thalassotherapy and different other things. But today, all these communities are facing this problem of displacement because all those mega projects, tourist projects, all this land, government want this land to take those land from the community and sell it to the foreign investors or foreign companies to be able to build here the biggest hotel. Displacing or killing all those people because they don't have place to send them. Where are they going to send them? Then that's why for us, this subject is very important. But this talk today about neocolonialism and the resistance of the indigenous community that gives us another great concept of neo-extractivism in Honduras, which is very interesting for us. The neo-extractivism is a Honduras favorite development strategy. That means the exploitation and accumulation of common goods in nature has led to the deterioration of organizational structure as well as the cultural and spiritual manifestation of indigenous and black communities in Honduras. Under neo-extractivism, social policies rely on extractive activity to finance policies that are supposed to promote social well-being. But today, the indigenous and Garifuna people have been criminalized, murdered, and exiled from those communities, kicked out from those communities. From all this territory, who we get possession of it in 1797. But it was not like they give it to us for free. When we arrived to Honduras in 1797, Honduras, it was in a big fight for the independence from Spain. Then our leaders, John Bulnes, Walumugu, he creates a big group of soldiers of 2,000 men and women to fight for the Honduran independence. Then after those 2,000 men and women fight for Honduras independence and helped General Francisco Morazan to win the War of the Independence in 1821, then in favor of all this blood of our ancestors who died in this war, then the paper of this land was given to the Garifuna community by Francisco Morazan. Then this model of extractivism is characterized by the extraction of natural assets from the property belonging to these communities in order to generate economic accumulation, but for third parties, for foreign investors or for transnational corporations mixed with corrupt politicians from the government who sold our land to those corporations for extractive projects. Then they came with the idea that there's going to be economic growth for the communities. In more cases, the extracted products are raw materials or energy resources to be used to satisfy consumption's needs of both in regional elites, national or in the global north. Which is very interesting to understand this point of view. Because in each of those businesses, we still have the elite corrupt 14 families in the country who build their wealth from the corruption of the government. They are the same who can be president, who can name the Congress, who can appoint the Supreme Court. They are the same people. Then they are the same people who today are partners in those projects. Then in the case of Honduras, they are operating in all this large coast of Honduras, which then dedicates their community to consider. Then the government concede our space. That means our land, that means our water, our air, and life. With the idea, they say that the projects are considered to be public interest. It's very interesting to understand their concept about public interest. The concept of public interest is to open our land to those companies who are even coming. I'm giving you just an example in a large municipality of Iriona, where we built the first Garifuna hospital, who is running there. The first Garifuna hospital. It's a community, it's an area, it's a whole municipality without electricity. You don't find electricity over there. We got a small hospital over there who has been treating almost 900,000 people, almost 1 million people for free. There is no electricity. Then there is a company over there creating a big dam over there to generate electricity. When we sit down with them and say, okay, if you're building a dam here in our river, in our area, why you don't provide our community electricity? Then municipality can handle all the process of the electricity. They can charge the people, the houses, and this money gonna come and return for the development of the municipality. They deny to do that. They're building this project in the community, but there is nothing back. Then there's electricity can be selling to the other area, but there is nothing back to the community. That's the crude reality what's happening in those communities. Then those responsible for neo-extractivism project, like the biggest hotel, some of you maybe can travel and see the advertisement of Hindura Beach Hotel Golf Resort, who just built it in the Garifuna land. You know, after they kick out our community from the land, now today they have a big resort over there. Then when they were starting to build this project, they were telling us that that's gonna have a big impact in the life of our community. Of course, there is a big impact, because since that time in 2013 to the present, many Garifuna and indigenous people has been displaced by extractive activity and various orders who was being used by the court to evict and expel the Garifuna from their home. Today, the criminalization of the leaders of our movement who were resisting to those projects is one of the more biggest action from the government against our community. I was sharing with Professor Stan after I arrived to Sacramento and see the news of the movement, and I was feeling that I was like home, because 7 days ago they arrived to the community and captured 15 of the leaders of the movement. And the community of Guapinol, who is a resistance of small farmers, because they're resisting, because they don't want the mining company or the politicians are part of it, you know, with the biggest corporation who is right there, and the community, they just arrived to the community of Guapinol, kick out the people from there, because they need the river. They need all this mountain for the exploitation of the minerals. But there is a big resistance of people over there. And they just arrived 7 days ago and said the order of capture for the more than almost 17 of the leaders of the movement. We have to look for the way to move them to the city of La Ceiba, who is like the most nearest city where we are, where we have like the structure of the movement too. We have an office. We put them in the office in the night to be able to get to the court early in the morning and present themselves and sign with our attorneys. When we arrive to the court early in the morning, they already have another charges. Then that's mean that they capture them, they transport them with chain in their hand, and they feed to the capital. Then we had to move and build a movement in less than 24 hours to be able to move like 20,000 people to the capital and be in the court for those 5 days. Thank God, yesterday they were released from jail. But we're still in this fight. Those brothers and sisters they were lucky to be captured, because many of us, they killed them before they can get captured. We see our beloved sister Berta Cáceres, who was most loving and intelligent woman that I ever see. She never used guns. She has like a sweet word that she can fight with it. But they couldn't stop her just fighting, discussing, and delivering the ideas. They couldn't stop her. They had to, 2016, in March, they arrived to her home and kill her. Today, they capture like 5 of them who went to the house, but the government doesn't want to persecute the bigger banker, the biggest families in the country, who pay those men who went and killed this woman at home. Then we still in this movement of fight, looking for justice for Berta Cáceres, our great leaders who show us the path that we have to continue fighting for what is belong to us. Show us the path that there is only one path. They don't give us another choice today. Today they tell you, you live or die. That's the only path what we have. And sometimes, for us, when we come here and share our history, our struggle with you, brothers and sisters, we can find some oxygen that you can help us to share our history. We can make alliances. We can reinforce what we are doing back home. How we can build a hope for the helpless back home. Because we have the land. We have the space. We have a beautiful country back home. We just need to push our representative to don't stop supporting the corrupt government who are destroying day by day the hope of our people. It's very interesting. The president of my country, Honduras, his only brother was captured and he's in jail in Miami or New York as the most biggest drug dealer in the country. Then they just published and released that he was one of the biggest drug dealers since 2004. And we are 2019. His only brother, he didn't even know that he was drug dealer. Very interesting process. But with the money of your taxes, the military get their support to continue repressing the peaceful demonstration that people every day have to do to save their life. It's very interesting to see all this process. Now, we are reinforcing a new movement in the Garifuna community in the land of hope that we call Vallecito. There are almost 2,000 hectares of land located here. We rescue these 2,000 hectares of land. We're building here a new community. Those 2,000 hectares of land were took from the community by the militaries. And those land was sold by the military to the drug dealers. Then we built a movement with the community. Almost 3,000 people moved and rescued this land here. For us, it's a very interesting process because we just built 35 houses over there in this area. We just invite women from all those communities who didn't have support to send their children to school to move and live here. We just built a small school with 63 students already at the school and 23 in the kindergarten. We're building a new community here where we believe there's going to be a new way to develop an economy for people to live. Then we can invite you to go and accompany us here, some of the students who need to have some experience working in new community, building new community. We have a team of our young people who we found the scholarships to send them to university in different parts of the world. We have Dr. Ronnie working, designing a new university who's going to be built here. We call it UGA, Universidad Garifuna. Dr. Ronnie, he just finished his second PhD at University of Texas in Austin. He's now leading the project at the university over here. We have some part of our team who is studying economy. We're coming back. We have another one of our friends who just finished his PhD in economy at the University of Valladolid in Spain. He's part of this project. We have some of those group of young people going to school and returning back to do what we can do in this area. This is Vallecito for us. All those hectares of land were next to the sea. Then 10 years ago, some of our leaders were murdered in this area. Then event, some of them, the residents who were there, they with fear, but we have no choice that is stand up and fight for what we have over there to continue supporting our community. Then, when you talk with the people who are living in this new community, he said, we will not leave our territory, we will resist. Then like 5 different resistance movement and action are built in all those areas. We have 5 different action rescuing the lands in those areas because there is no culture without territory. And when you enter to our country, you see a face of indigenous at the airport, you see a face of Garifuna at the airport, saying that we are an inclusive country. Then we are good, a country of a rainbow country, different color, because they want us to dance, they want us to laugh, they need us for that. Because when we demand what is belong to us, when we demand our right to live, our right to develop our own economy, our right to develop our own type of education, our right to develop our own system of health, then you become dangerous. When you're dancing, everybody is happy. Look, I love how you dance. Yeah, it's very interesting. I was invited to one of the biggest embassy in my country. I won't say the name, but it was for it was for a screening of a documentary where I participate. Then they invited me to speak in the screening of a documentary. Then when I arrived there, I was driving like 8 hours to go to the capital. I arrived like 10 minutes a little bit late to the meeting. When I entered the room, the guy who was there, the guy who was reading my bio, to do the presentation, and then he told me, stop, where are you going? We're in the meeting. Then I continued walking. He told me, hey, wait, stop. We are in the meeting, he told me. Then I continued walking. He asked me, hey, wait, the next meeting for those who are going to dance tonight is at 7 p.m. Then the lady, when she looked at me, I say, I'm Dr. Luther. And he say, oh, excuse me, Dr. Luther, I'm sorry. I say, and yeah, I'm Dr. Luther, but I'm going to dance tonight too. Then when they see us, they think about dancing, they think about the sport, they don't think about science. That's why too, you move the puzzles when you are a doctor and you are now sitting in a hospital every day and you're fighting for the right of the people. You're fighting for the right of those who don't have access to the health care. Because the traditional way to see medicine is that you don't care about who don't get access to health care. Because the deterioration of public health is the reinforcement of the private practice. That's mean that those people that I cannot attend in the public practice, I can send them to my private clinic. I can earn more revenue. But what's going to happen with 80% of people living in poverty who didn't even have right to get sick? They don't have the money to pay an internal medicine consult. They don't have money to pay an orthopedic. They cannot even think to pay a cardiologist. Then the people die before getting to the public hospitals. They die over there, and they teach us that God took them. How? Hell, how can God be able to support corruption? You know? How can God forgive those? With the corruption action would take the money to buy medicine to the poorest of the poor. Then the offer, every day they told you, doctor, you are very intelligent. What you are doing in the street fighting with people? I was the first Honduran graduated from Harvard Kennedy School. Then the government was thinking that I have to go, because you come from Harvard Kennedy School, a school of government, you're going to go and join the government. We can join the government if they are doing the right for the people. But we came from the people. We belong to the people. We have the sense of belongingness. And we believe deeply that the best doctor have to be able to feel the pain of others. Have to be able to walk in the shoes of their patient. And the patient who doesn't have access to the education, who cannot even read, how can follow a medical prescription? There is no way. He cannot even read. He don't have access to the education. Then if we believe in this way to practice medicine, this biopsychosocial way to approach medicine, then what is great hope for us that we having a great team of young people following this path, doing their job from different perspectives, accompanying the struggle of those who need most. Last week I was traveling for a conference. I was invited in Belize. Then I traveled by road from Honduras to Guatemala and then to Belize. Then right there when I arrived to the border of Honduras and Guatemala, I found like a 30 Garifuna men and women. I think the elder of them, they were 25, 30 years old. And they were there with like 12 children. Then I asked them, then what you are doing here? Because I knew some of them. They told me then, we are going to try our journey to the United States. Wow. But what happened? What you're doing there? Now we have been here like 6 hours. They don't let us cross the border because the children doesn't have passport. You need almost $100 to get a passport for each children. How can someone who are leaving the country because they don't have 10 cents to eat can have a passport for the children? Then, in the 4 or 5 minutes I was there, doing all the process to cross the border, talking with them, then they pay some of the guy from the bus. They put the children from the back of the bus. Then they continue their journey. Then, in those minutes that I was talking with them, they were there. Then they told me we're going to try, because in our community, we cannot longer live. Our children have no future there. Things are more difficult. And when I ask about the risk of the journey, they say, we know it's very difficult and dangerous, but it's much more dangerous to stay here in our community. Here, we only have two options: live or we'll die of hunger. That's the option over there. As you see in some of the media, the biggest caravan in history, people walking, 20,000, 15,000 of people walking, coming to the north, coming to the United States. Then it was like a media, you know that there was the news in the first 3 or 5 days. But this is not new. This is happening every day. What happened with those 20,000 people from Honduras, from Central America, who get murdered, raped, assassinated in the way through the north, is that they decided to stop the trip for 15 days and come together. Because they can protect themselves on the way. Maybe some of them would be, they can work, they can travel in a group and protect themselves, running from poverty, but running from the corruption of the government. Running from those who condemns our brothers and sisters who die daily because they don't have access to medicine, they don't have access to job, they don't have access to education, now they don't have access to land. Then, today in the name of the development, our community has turned it into an attractive to mega project, monocultures, mining, special development zones. It's a new concept over there. Special development zones. That means that government can sell any piece of land to any investors and build a new country inside a country. It's a very attractive concept for investors, because you're building a new country inside a country who's going to have your own bank. You can launder any kind of money that you can bring over there. You can have your own Supreme Court. You can have your own military inside a country. That means a special development zone and oil exploitation. Then what we see, that the states have been declared the war to the community. And we have no other choice than stand up and fight for the right of our people. But for us as a young people, it's a decision of life that we have to do. But the great thing is that more young people are joining this great venture to fight for the rights of others, to fight for their life. Some of us have the opportunity to leave and maybe go another way and take our family and live and work in another part. But not all of us can leave. What's going to happen to the people who are going to stay there? It is fair to abandon them to the destiny, what they call destiny of death. No, it's not fair. Some of us have to walk on the altar of sacrifice it is dangerous, it's clear. Maybe our mothers suffer a lot. My mom used to tell me every day, I pray for you every night, 5 times a day, then God can protect you. Then I really believe in the prayers of my mom. I believe in the spirit of my ancestors, then my grandma is, taking care of me, taking care of our brothers and sisters who are fighting for this right of the people. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity that you are giving me to share with you the struggle of my people. Thanks to the university for this wonderful opportunity.
At this time, we do have some time for questions for the speaker. So I'm not sure if we have another microphone. If we don't, I'll probably see if I can get questions and then maybe repeat them up here so the group can hear them and moderate that for a little while. Are there any questions from the audience?
Where did you train to be a medical doctor, and why did you become a doctor?
Did everyone hear that?
Did y'all hear me? Oh, it's gonna be loud.
Okay. So are there any other questions? We'll take a couple. Got some in the back.
I'm here to talk about the role of the United States in supporting this corrupt government.
And we all heard that one too. There's some other hands in the back. You can either walk up and ask or. Come on up.
Probably be easier if I just come on like that.
Yeah, come on up.
So that's cool. First of all, thank you very much for coming. It was a pleasure to hear you speak. I was just wondering if you can speak to all the students here about your experience and some maybe strategies that you've developed since you've obviously gone to Ivy League and Harvard, and you overcame a lot of struggles, right, in dealing with, let's say, issues of colonialism and the intergenerational traumas that exist from that. So if you can speak to our students about where they're at right now, since you can look back and maybe reflect on that, about issues that they're, or addressing issues that they might be going through that you went through and succeeded in overcoming. And I really like your analogy of using medicine to talk about healing and in a relational aspect about health. And so I think that would be really helpful, reflecting on that and your experience and basing it on your kind of embodied knowledge about speaking to our students here and how they can succeed and push forward here at Cal State Sacramento. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Then we have 3 very interesting questions. I don't know if I have an answer for those questions, but the first question, why I become a doctor? Then I born in this small community called Tocamacho. I had to walk to go to school every day, almost 3 hours to go, 3 hours to return. And but my father used to teach us at home to be able to collaborate with others. Then when the people get sick in this village, my village, Tocamacho, we used to take them in an ambulance. And the ambulance was a hammock. It's a big stick like this and a hammock on it. Then maybe a woman in the process of delivering. Then we had to carry them to another village. We didn't have doctors in the other village too. They have a group of religious sisters. They had some knowledge about medicine, they helped, and many of those people die in the way. Then we used to carry them. Then I used to live in that community. Then some of them die in the way that we had to return the body. And people used to say that the body, when you die, then you are more heavy, you know. Then when we walk with those people, we have to be maybe 20 minutes each one, 15 minutes each one. You got to be praying that if that people die, you have to return back to the body. It's just more difficult. Then you have to pray that how they can save. Then after, when I was growing, the government used to send some of those doctors to do maybe 6 months, 2 months of practices in those communities. But I used to saw those doctors with the white coat very far away from the people. Then thinking that they look like a god, a very interesting process. And they used to fight a lot with the midwives in the communities because they're trying to say that midwife was the guiltiest person for the highest infant mortality in the country. Then in 1999, then one wanted to be a doctor to return back to do something for the community and help others, young people from the community, to go to med school. Then in 1998, the Hurricane Mitch destroyed Central America, part of Central America. Honduras was one of the most affected countries. More than 25,000 people died, but more than other 30,000 disappeared. Then I had an opportunity, to go. I got an offer for a scholarship to go to Latin American School of Medicine in Havana with 7 other brothers and sisters. Then we created, since that year in 1999, a small foundation where we were looking for a scholarship for more young fellows. Then we found more scholarships. We selected students from different communities and sent them to med school. That opportunity was the opportunity of our life, because the price of a book is the money what our parents earn for a year. Then it's going to be difficult for us to become doctors if you don't have money to buy the anatomy, physiology, and pathology books. Then that opportunity was the opportunity of our life. Then when you get the opportunity of your life, you don't play with it. You cannot call your mom and tell her, Mom, I'm sad. This is what happened. I don't like the food. Grandma will answer first. Come here. But come prepared. I will punch your face and you will, I will punch your face and you will get back to the university, just with one punch. For us, who walked 3 hours to go to school, 3 hours to return, when we talk about it, people think it was exercise. No, there is no way, there was no way to get to the school. Then you had to walk. Then that was the only opportunity that we got. Then we tied to that opportunity. But in the other side, it was after you get that knowledge from the university, the common way, what the traditional system teach you is that you have to go to the cities, build a big hospital, and forget about that people. I hear someone saying, why they don't put them in a truck and transport all them to the city? I can treat some of them over there. Than in an human way to see others. Then I went to med school. I did my residency in family medicine. I started a PhD in infectious disease. Then I make an agreement with the university to go back to the country in 2004, after I finished the school 2005, and do my residency inside the community, because the idea it was to build a small hospital for the people over there. Then Sacramento, California was very key for us in that process. That's why when we are invited to come to California, we feel the hope, we feel the energy. I met in 2001 Bill Camp, who is one of the California Sacramento Labor Council, with his brother Tom Camp. He invited me to, they were in the medical brigade. I worked with them over there in the medical brigade. They invited me to California. I came to California, meet Catherine Hall, meet brother Alan Warren, collect some money. Alan Warren donate the first $5,000. We go back home, buy some bricks, start building with the community, everybody dancing, putting some bricks together. Then you know the process, no? You get a $5,000, you get some rebar, you get some brick, you start building the hospital, but after maybe 7 line of blocks, you don't have more money. You have to go and look for some money and build another piece, another piece, and another piece. We start this journey in 2004. Then we have our first inauguration in 2008 for the first phases of this hospital, bringing a new approach. This hospital, when I started to build the hospital, then the government and the medical association started a campaign that I need a psychiatry. And because I was thinking, in my mind, I had a hospital who can treat people. Then when they see the building was finished, from that crazy idea, then I get some equipment from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I get something from Chicago, I get some from California, I ship it back home. When they see that all the equipment was there, that we were doing the opening, then they prayed what they call illegal. Then it was illegal to create our own system of healthcare and provide free healthcare for the poorest of the poor. What's the illegal piece of it? Then first, they told me, okay, we're going to cancel your certificate. I said, I don't care about certificate. I born here. I went to the school to get the certificate. I'm back here working with the people. Then they recognized that I don't care about certificate. I didn't stop moving from this project, who was declared illegal. Then we had a strategy to invite the Lieutenant Governor of California, who was John Garamendi at that time, who is now, I think, he's part of the Congress, to do the inauguration of this small hospital in that jungle in Honduras. I didn't explain to Mr. Garamendi what it was his role in this opening, because in that time when I invited him, I was receiving like 25 text messages that they're gonna kill me. Then I invited him to protect. Because one of the biggest things it was providing free health care for the people in this remote area over here. Then the medical association from the more nearest city was thinking that I was taking money from their pocket because I was doing ultrasound for women for free over here. And they say that they buy already the ultrasound that I'm taking those people. Then all those people who didn't have money from here, they would travel hours and hours, get to the hospital, get their medications for free. Then the strategy of the government, after serving those people for more than, from 2006 to last year, until 2017, they canceled the agreement because I bring some of the doctors from Cuba. They canceled the agreement of Cuba and took 12 of the doctors from the hospital. It was the strategy to close the process. All this struggle that we have to do, that's why I became a doctor, not only to understand what those healthcare mean for our people, but to be able to have that paper to stand up among them who are destroying the life of the people and take the voice of our people. And that's why I went to Harvard too. Because after I finished from Latin American School of Medicine in Cuba, they were talking that my ideas that were coming from Cuba. Then after I returned from Harvard, they cannot say that I was crazy. But now I'm invited to different universities to be the keynote speaker in the graduation, to talk about my experience in Harvard. They don't ask me about my experience in Cuba. Then I can talk about my experience in Harvard. I can talk about how Harvard cannot change the way what I think to fight for the right of the most needed people. Then we can go to the academia, the more highest way, but has no meaning if we cannot feel the pain of those who are in the bottom. Then we can grow up, we can help to leave others to grow with us. We believe deeply in this, and our experience and strategy, I love mathematics. And I see this in mathematics like this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. And in this struggle, this is the y-axis, the action what we are doing every day to get our goals. And in the x-axis, we have the legitimacy, what we have to build day by day with our actions. And this is our goal over here. Then when we do an action here in the y-axis, automatically we receive a reaction from the system or from the other people who are opposing to the way how we think to save the more needed people. We cannot lose our effort, because they have a big power. Then we have to build some legitimacy in the x-axis. And in this time, when we are building this legitimacy, we recover forces to do another action here. Build some legitimacy, do some action. Build some legitimacy and do some action. And this is the real strategy for us. We have to pick up young people from those communities, send them to school. Because when they return from Valladolid, Spain, when they return from Italy, from Belgium, from the University of Texas, from the University of Chicago, from Wisconsin, with a PhD, with a master's degree, you cannot say that they are talking foolishness. They're talking about science, based on the reality of the people. They're talking about economical growth from the basis of the community. They are denouncing the mining project, the destruction of the environment with argument. Then we can take the struggle to another level. Then our ancestors did what they have to do for us. What's going to be our part in this struggle, our role in this struggle? How we can move it to another level? How we can use the knowledge that we learn from the university to put those knowledge to serve others, to help other people. Then that's why I think I cannot answer all this question, this intergeneration trauma who is in this process. I think that's going to be next talk. When you invited me to another talk at the university, we can discuss about this. But the role of U.S. supporting this corrupt government, I was part of the team who come to Washington, to lobby in Washington, to meet members of the Congress, to meet members of the Senate, and go to the State Department to talk about the military coup d'etat in Honduras. I was part of the leading committee. I came last December about the corruption in the election in Honduras. The Organization of the State of America, the same Almagro who is the director of Organization of the State of America, Hayes, he said that the most corrupt election that he ever see in his life, it was the last one in Honduras. But now, last week, he's with the president of Honduras signing the agreement that they are supporting his presidency. Then now we see the military coup was running, but the military aid never stopped. To the military who repress, kill, disappear, and murder our people in Honduras. And I think this is one of the way that you can help us, how we can push in this way. Because if we reduce the military aid that is coming from U.S. to the dictatorship in Honduras, we can save many lives of those people who are dying every day. Many young people who are willing to fight because they don't have hope. They have to fight because we don't have no more hope in the country. If we don't fight, we don't die for it, we cannot liberate it. Just in the movement that we built in the last election in Honduras, in November 2018, more than 124 young people died. You don't hear that on news. No. They control the media. Media cannot talk about this. Maybe you can see it in social media, because now we can do Facebook Live when they're killing someone. We can do something from media, but the traditional media, they don't talk about this. And this is something who we believe that building these alliances of solidarity with people like you can spread the word that what we can do for the helpless in the other part of the world. Thank you so very much.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to take a short break. That'll be the end of this segment of the event, and we will get set up for our panel. As you leave, can we just give Dr. Luther one more round of applause? Thank you so much for being here.